Today I want to talk about new OU commit Bryson Washington. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time, and today I want to talk about the latest commitment to the 2020 recruiting class for Oklahoma. That is one Bryson Washington. And my goodness, do you ever like this? This might be my favorite commit of the last 4 weeks. And that's another way of me just segueing into. There have been 4 Sooner defensive commits since June 12th. Perion Winfrey, right? Remember him? Adrian Cooper, right? Remember him? Brandon Walker, right? Remember him? And now Bryson Washington out of C.E. King in Houston. And this dude is all of 6'2", 195 pounds, and can fly. Look, I don't know that you could be more excited about a guy joining the class than Bryson Washington because he is prototypical for what Grinch wants, and another one of those unicorns. Look, at 6'2", 195 pounds, yes, he projects at strong safety, but he also has the speed to be the 5th defensive back in Grinch's scheme, which I think looks more like a 3-3-5 than a 3-4. Fight me. But that's kind of my point here. You have to have an absolute monster playing at that nickel spot. And I actually wrote about this on 247 going, who's going to be the guy? Because Buki was supposed to be that guy last year, and then David Sills cooked his grits. And then we saw the same thing happen in the Orange Bowl. Didn't matter if you were playing a Sam linebacker. Didn't matter if you were playing a nickelback. That dude got torched week in and week out, and that was the biggest thing that I needed to see Grinch fix for his scheme to take effect. You got to find an absolute dog out there. The star position in Alabama, that rover position that you're seeing in the NFL, the slot corner, the nickel back. Bryson Washington could be that guy, and that guy is making the most money, or will be, at the next level, at the NFL level. It's the reason why Chris Harris is arguably one of the best defensive players in the NFL right now. Shout out to Bixby, because he is the best slot corner in the NFL. And in today's NFL, today's offense, you need a guy that can take away the slot guy, because we're seeing more and more. People are unafraid of taking their blessed outside receiver and moving him inside to match up against what they think is a matchup that they want, right? They think that 5th defensive back is not going to be that good, or that dime guy is not going to be that good. And Bryson Washington was down to Texas and Oklahoma after having A&M, Georgia, Alabama, all of them chase him. Even going back to last year this time, he had Texas inside of his top 10, and now we're down to Texas and Oklahoma. Oklahoma getting a late run at him. He took an official to Texas on June 21st, so a lot of people were thinking that it was over, that it was done. And since he has camped at Texas repeatedly, he visited Texas for the USC game. Everybody's thinking the dude from Texas is going to commit to Texas. And the argument that I would have if I was a Longhorn fan was, look, when you're looking at defensive backs, and you're looking at defensive backs and how they play and whether or not they get drafted, you're looking at Texas more than you're looking at Oklahoma in the last 3-4 years. It's just a fact, right? Even Chris Boyd getting drafted in the 7th round means Oklahoma didn't have anybody drafted at all in the 2019 draft in the defensive backfield. And that is the place for which Grinch needs to make his mark, especially since he's a safety. He's a safeties coach. That is his bread and butter. And the way that he and Roy Manning coach this defense, and particularly the back end, is going to either pay dividends or show everybody that Oklahoma still doesn't know how to play defense. And if you got a guy like Bryson Washington in the boat, before you can even show what the defense actually looks like, you got to know that they've been recruiting their butts off. And Alex Grinch and Roy Manning in particular got to be just in love with this, because this is a guy that can return punts. It's a guy that has blocked punts. I watched the man huddle film, and I get it, it's a highlight reel, but he would chase people down that he had no business chasing down. Other fast men were caught by him and his 4.45 speed. Legitimate speed, legitimate size. And at a time when we're taking stock of who the best are in this 2020 class and where they come from, 238 of the top 500 recruits come out of Florida, Texas, or Georgia. And I'm saying that because, look, you go 72 of the top 500 in Florida, 69 of the top 500 are in Texas, 53 of the top 500 are in Georgia, just 44 of the top 500 in California. So yes, Oklahoma's going to recruit Texas, because everybody ought to be recruiting Texas. As a matter of fact, I need to do this segment where, actually I did do this segment, I need to do this for the channel, but if you're just recruiting Florida, Texas and Georgia, you're going to have a really good football team because nearly half of the top 500 recruits in the country come out of those three places. Oklahoma had just 4 guys inside the top 500 in the 2020 class. So yes, Oklahoma's always going to have to recruit Texas. Always has, always will. Same thing with Oklahoma State. Same thing with Texas. And I think this is also speaking toward just how much the perception is at least trying to be changed by Alex Grinch, Roy Manning, and Brian Odom, the new guys on the defensive staff, because they know the reputation of Oklahoma before they got here. You know, if you had even something like a above average defense against Georgia, you probably win that game. You probably win the national championship, because we still contend the best matchup against Alabama to beat Alabama was always that 2017 Oklahoma team. They were just built to beat them offensively, but you had to have a defense to get there. That's why Georgia won, right? Then this past year, you fired the defensive coordinator midway through the season, and you made the college football playoff with the one loss with an interim defensive coordinator. So if you had anything like a stable and then above average scheme, you perhaps have an opportunity to beat Alabama instead of going down 28-0 in the first quarter and basically throwing in the towel after that. If you're an OU fan, I mean, a lot of folks started drinking after that, even as the team did fight back to lose 45-34, which was closer than the 28-0 margin that, you started out with. So now that you know that the offense is going to hum, you've always needed to put the defense on the field. And I, for one, have never taken for granted that Lincoln Riley's offense is going to continue to break records. I know it's going to be good. I know that it should be good. But the wheels do come off every now and again, man. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about Florida State as a class member of college football, and now Florida State is fighting back to be relevant. It really can go that quickly, and you need to have a defense this year more than ever, because you could have been wrong for betting against Kyler Murray, and we would have made fun of you like we did. But I understand it. You might be wrong for betting against Jalen Hurts, but if you do, I understand it, because asking Jalen Hurts to have the level of production that both Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray had before him is asking too much. You need to ask him to do more than what he did at Alabama, but not that much more. And by that much more, I mean, if he throws for over 3,000 yards and he has over 30 touchdowns passing and he rushes for like 700 and he has over 20 rushing touchdowns, that should be a really good offensive team. But it doesn't have to be what Baker Mayfield was doing, and it doesn't have to be what Kyler Murray was doing, and it frankly wouldn't be. But if your defense was as good as my buddy Steve hopes it might be, like we're talking about defensive efficiency, I contend that defensive efficiency number for Oklahoma ain't going to be great, right? I think it might be in the 60s because there's just a lot of work to do, right? If they hit 77, I think you should be happy with it, because it'd be Grinch's first year and he's working with the same sort of guys that Mike Stoops was recruiting for a different sort of football and a different ideal. Plus, you're going to have some moving and shaking on the defensive line that I've kind of shaded but also kind of talked outright about. But even now, you're seeing what the recruiting strategy is. And you're seeing what kind of defensive lineman he wants, what kind of linebackers that he wants, and what kind of defensive backs he wants. And the guys like Bryson Washington, routinely, yeah, everybody wants them. Not everybody gets them. They usually go play SEC football, or if they're from Texas, they end up at A&M, they end up at Texas. Every now and again, you do what we have seen Alex Grinch do, which is pull Ryan Watt, 6'3" cornerback, out of Little Elm. Pull Bryson Washington out of Houston, which ought to be something like home base for Texas, to say nothing of whatever it is Dana Holgorsen is trying to build down there with the Cougars, who Oklahoma's going to face September 1. You also have to contend with TCU. You also have to contend with SMU, Baylor. We can keep going here. You get the point. LSU's just over there, man. Arkansas's just up there. So for Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch, and Roy Manning to go down to Houston, pull a guy like Bryce Washington, tells you the message that they're using now is working. I think that message could change a bit, whether it get better or worse, depending on how the defense plays. If the defense gets better, expect more defensive recruits that are of a higher caliber, the kind that Alabama has been getting, the kind that LSU has been getting, because all you really need to do is show the defense is getting better. Because if you show the defense is getting better, you can sell, hey, be the guys to help us push this over the top. Continue to win Big 12 championships and win the first national championship at Oklahoma since 2000. Bryson Washington is showing you that that message is getting through. All right, that is it for me. Deuces.